with the vision of elevating fenny to greatness and establishing it as a leading spirit in the cocktail industry. We welcome you, sir. I request Dipti to welcome, sir. Thank you. Our next panelist is Carlyle Gomes, co-founder of Aniek. He is a graphic designer and branding specialist by profession. He blended these skills and his love for fenny to put forth a brand that is designed to showcase the beauty of the product, as well as the range of experiences that come along with it. Meet him at the events, restaurants and pop-ups, both behind the bar and in front of it. While he prefers a simple fenny drink with tonic and lime, he thoroughly enjoys working on the array of cocktails that celebrates the honey egg infusions and our beloved spirit of Goa, fenny. We welcome you, sir. I request you, sir, formally welcome, sir. Another speaker on the panel is Sri Anand Shirodkar, an entrepreneur, 31 years of age. Anand loves building community spaces and is forever grateful that he gets to do that in Goa. Encouraging a shared collective love for local produce and spirit has been his forte. He aims to bridge the gap between someone who doesn't know about fenny and getting them to taste it through his bar. We welcome you, sir. I request Dipti to formally welcome Shri Anand Shirodkar. Now I request our editor, sir, and to carry on.
Thank you, Pranay sir, for giving the stage to me. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sagyang Upastitang Maza Namaskar. My name is Yash Savardekar and I'm the co-founder of Goichi Fenny. Today, it's truly an honor to be here hosting this session after a very successful session last year, because Cashew Fest holds a very special place in my heart. Last year, on this very stage, we announced the launch of our Cashew Fenny, which eventually led to us getting a lot of press because of all the people involved in the audience. And ultimately, it snowballed into us being invited to pitch in front of the Sharks on Shark Tank India, bringing the national spotlight onto fenny. This year, now that I've had the privilege to host this discussion, it only seemed fitting to sort of invite the next generation of stakeholders of the fenny industry, some of the sharpest minds we have with us today, to talk about the changing face of fenny culture. Fenny has been around for centuries, but unfortunately it has never gotten its dues. Until a few years ago, it was fully regarded as a poor man's country liquor. But we've seen a shift in mindset in both consumers and distillers alike for fenny. And that is the reason why we're here today to sort of discuss about the changing face of fenny culture through all the various expressions of fenny that these entrepreneurs produce to sort of put fenny on a global stage. So I'd like to sort of not waste any more time and get straight into asking them a few questions that I have prepared so that we can educate our audiences more about what's been going on in the fenny industry lately. To start with Mr. Gomes. Hi, good afternoon, Carl. So Aniek is an infused fenny brand. So can you please shed more light on how infused fenny is produced? And has it been done historically, or is it something that is a new concept?
Okay, so I'll answer the second part first.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, hello everyone. Infused fenny, in my opinion, there's no documented evidence of fenny infusions, but infusion as a concept is, I would say, as old as fenny itself, right? Fenny would be in each and everyone's homes, sourced from the local distillers, lying in your house and consumed as and when at leisure. And while it was there, someone from the family would take some spices, knowing the medical values of it or the flavors of those spices, and just casually drop them in the bottles of fenny. Conceptually, that is infusion, and that is the way it works. So that that is, like I said, as old as fenny itself. So infusion is not something new. What Aniek is bringing to the the concept of infusions is basically some level of standard and a whole range of experiences. So the way we look at it is the world is divided into two, like literally two sections. There are people who drink fenny and there are people who don't drink fenny, according to us, right? So we wanted at some point in time when we were doing tastings, my partner Clement, who's behind the infusions, was doing infusions for a really long time. But it was more between family and friends that they were sharing. He was sharing the product. But when my wife Jill and me were sitting and actually tasting the product, we realized that it had an opportunity to transcend people who are on the other side of the world into this category. And that is where we saw value in the product. There were a lot of flavors in those infusions which were allowing us to bring it to the other side, or allowing people to have a different experience. And that was the magic in terms of the infusion. Now, our process of infusion is very similar to what I explained earlier in terms of how you would have a bottle of fenny at home and you would drop some spices. That's exactly what we do. We do not distill our fenny because there's really qualified and valuable distillers out there. We source our the distilled fenny. Our process and our magic is the infusion. So at the time of conceptualization, we knew that we want to cater to a variety of palates out there. That's where the 3 different infusions that we started off with came into place. We have the lemon, the chili, and honey cinnamon. Now they all have their exclusive and unique tasting profiles. It's our factory has tanks of fenny, the OG original fenny that we like to call it, and we dunk or immerse the infused ingredients in the fenny. It's a long process, so it's because it's absolutely natural. It's a process of about a month, 25 days to a month, and the reason for the variation is we have a benchmark or a reference bottle, and when we know that the infusion has reached us like closest to the benchmark bottle, that's when we stop the infusion. We drain out and filter any kind of particles or sediments that might be there, and the final product is then bottled, packaged, and distributed. So that is the infusion process that we have. Over the course of the month, there's some gentle agitation, obviously, to stir it up and bring some life into the fenny in the course of the process. So that's the process that we follow, and we've had really good responses in terms of, like I say, the shift or the conversion, right? We like to consider ourselves fenny converts in the larger scheme of not just the spirit, but the actual crop, the actual industry, and overall in general. You get more people to try fenny. Everyone knows about the nut, right? But how many know about the drink, right? Yeah. And there's other industries and food and stuff that also, like we know at the Cashew Fest, that's coming out of the cashew. So we've made many converts, and those people have either walked out with a bottle or been willing to try another infusion. Most people have a preference, and we appreciate that. But one question that we get whenever especially when we're at an event like this, is what's the next infusion, right? And that is something that consistently gives us belief in the concept that we came out with right at the start. So that's the way I look at it in terms of infusion.
Fantastic.
So it's as traditional as fenny itself, but there's a lot of hope in the future for the product.
Absolutely, so not only does this open it up to new palates, like you said, this, like, you're absolutely right about this being a very historical process as well. If you look at spirits in the West, for example, Benedictine monks have been forever infusing their alcohol with medicinal properties or botanicals to sort of preserve their shelf life, to increase their shelf life. So not only this infusion does 2 things, like you said. One, increase the shelf life of the spices and use it for its medicinal properties, which is what it was used for historically, and it also opens it up to sort of new palates where they'd like to experiment with the flavor profile. And if it's not a secret, I'd like to ask you to, what is the next infusion?
Well, it's not really a secret. We've been giving it out to friends and family who've been coming around, or even when we go to an event and we know that there's someone probably like you around, we definitely offer it up because I'm personally most excited about it. We have a bartender mixologist who, when they tried it, he was like, "We have to get into the market with this." But there is some refinement that's needed, and obviously a cost factor that we need to achieve at considering the position that we are at. The next infusion is coffee.
Oh, very excited to try
So
that.
we're looking forward to a coffee fenny. It's quite exciting. Let's see.
Fantastic. I sort of have a supplementary question to my previous one as well.
Okay.
The understanding of liqueurs and infusions in India is fairly limited at the moment in terms of its understanding in its nitty-gritties. Of course, you've explained now very well, but the larger audience in India is sort of unaware of how infusions or liqueurs sort of work or how they're supposed to be used in cocktails and things like that. Do you believe infusions are the way forward for fenny, or do you think the plain fenny, the original fenny, cashew fenny that you've also very recently launched, will be a bigger hit with consumers in the future?
That question has so many answers
We'd like
and
to pick
elaborate
the best
answers,
one.
but yeah, I'll address them. So in terms of understanding of liqueurs and infusions, what happens is generally as an audience or as a market, most people are very straight about the spirit. It's more spirit, right? Like they drink their whiskeys, they drink their vodkas and the rums and whatever, the wines, and they're just about that. Because you drink at home, when you go outside, you're sitting at a bar, you still drink, your familiar drink. But what has happened, it's been popular for decades in the West. But what has happened in the last few years, I believe, in India, in places like Goa, is the introduction and growth of a cocktail culture. The cocktail culture is what brings concepts like infusions and liqueurs to the forefront. You are willing to experiment, you're willing to explore a little more, you're willing to go beyond the familiar, right? So, what's a Campari? Whoever hears of a Campari, right? What is it? And then suddenly, I've been drinking Negronis, and a Campari goes in it, right? It's a major ingredient. So, the whole culture is sort of an educational journey, which is making these liqueurs and infusions known to the public and giving them a whole range of exploration that can happen, which is giving the bartenders, like Anant also will know in his bar, they do Jeera Feni. It's an amazing drink. They have their own audience for it. Everyone would like to. You just read it, chili Feni. You read it on a menu and you're automatically intrigued, right? So that intrigue is something that's coming out through the whole cocktail culture, through the education that's going on, and I think that is a way forward. Like infusions is not new, like I explained earlier, and every bartender with whatever's happening right now in the drinking world, every bartender is doing his magic behind the bar. All of them are doing infusions with various spirits because that allows them to create a whole range of experience, probably based on their own personality, based on the bar's or restaurant's personality. There's insane amounts of exploration that happens through these infusions. That's the way I look at it. So it is definitely the way forward. Now, can you just repeat the second part?
The second part of the question was, do you think infusions are the way forward, or do you think plain cashew feni, which you also very recently launched under the banner of Aniek, would be more of a commercial success or known well to the consumers?
Okay. So, like I said, infusions being the way forward is something that I look at with still the ability to drive more experiences, right? A variety of experiences. Even when we are at the Cashew Fest, a lot of people come to us and be like, we buy your chili feni, we both love your chili feni, and that is the one. Or we buy your honey cinnamon. And like I said, each one picks their favorite. So they may or may not have been fenny drinkers, but now they've picked one and they've decided to stick with it, and they continue to entertain other people and offer it to them. So there's a growth in that aspect, but there are, and this was in the course of our brand journey as well. There are traditionalists, right? There are those who believe in the original spirit. They are very staunch with the way they drink fenny, and there's absolute respect to them, because that is the way they enjoy the drink. That is the way they enjoy their culture. That is where their ancestors and forefathers and everyone has been.
That's how it's been passed down.
It's been passed down, right? So there's a whole new wave of people coming in, and they've been trying our product. The first Cashew Fest, there were a lot of go-ins, wine store owners, etc., who would pass by. At that time, we were fairly new in the market. They'd be like, okay, let me try this product. Not to try the infusion actually, because they were in the traditionalist mindset.
Yeah.
They wanted their fenny. But they were actually judging the quality of the product. Because they were sensitive to it. So they would drink the fenny, probably compartmentalize the infusion in their minds and say, okay, this is a really good quality product. And we let that run for a certain amount of time till we... Anik grew up and was conceptualized as an infused fenny brand. We were very staunch about the fact that we wanted to go in the infusion direction. But having been in the market for a couple of years, having received feedback from not just customers, but also retailers, also owners of bars and things like that, everyone since almost a year has been asking us, when will you come out with your OG fenny, your base product? And that's the reason why we brought it out last year. It was purely to facilitate that exploration, and we'll keep it going obviously, but infusions are definitely going to be forward. We enjoy. There's actually like 8 of them on our rack, but we are coming out with coffee because we know we believe in it. But there's a whole exploration that continues to go forward, and it's like the possibilities are endless.
Absolutely.
1 + 1 equals infinity. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So that's why we say infusions are the way forward. It's going to grow, not just the spirit, but the industry, the experiences, everything that comes with it. And that's phenomenal for the Cashew.
Absolutely.
So,
No, it really is beautiful, because fenny is, I'm enjoying seeing that the entire new generation looks at fenny as such a new and blank canvas, where we sort of have the freedom to paint with it the way we want, in a way that Pablo Picasso paints skin color with blue and purple with almost a childlike innocence. This is a fantastic approach to sort of opening fenny to new palettes. So congratulations on this as well.
And just like one other note on that concept, right? Whether it's the infusions, whether it's the traditional fenny, like Hansel, for example, when he started Kazulo, he did it to raise the bar of fenny, right? He just told me yesterday, which he celebrates his World Fenny Day, it was 11 years since he launched Kazulo. Now, he did it to raise the bar of fenny. Raise it from the conceptual poor man's drink, the perception of country liquor, things like that. At that time, he had that vision. Today, whether it's Goenchi, whether it's Moji, whether it's Fenny Project, all of these brands, whether it's Aniek, we are all looking at continuing that raising of the bar, right? Like taking it on an upward curve, and that is progression and future for the spirit in general. That's constantly there. You're giving, like, the price point has increased. Everyone will question it, but who's getting the benefit? It's at the end of the day, it has to go back. We're looking at the industry in general. We're looking at catering to a different audience, and that's just growth on all levels. It's probably testimony to something that Hansel visualized those many years ago, and hopefully it'll continue to take it to another level altogether, another height.
100% so, and I think that's the real beauty of it. We're all sort of working as comrades within the industry to sort of build the entire spirit up from ground, and it just makes me very happy to see projects like these. So perfect. Moving forward, I have a couple of questions for Aisha, who's also one of the founders of the Fenny project. So it is a barrel-aged Fenny, another very new expression, assuming traditionally Fenny was aged in glass carafons. So do you believe the Fenny market has evolved enough to appreciate and understand a barrel-aged Fenny? And please shed some light on the journey that has been since inception, please.
Well, thank you for having me here first.
Absolute pleasure.
Hello, everyone. In case anyone doesn't yet know what barrel-aged Fenny is, I want to just give you a little bit of background so you understand what it is and how we make it. What we do is we source the distilled Fenny and we put it into a variety of oak barrels and just let it sit and age. Our first batch was aged for 1 year. Our second batch is aged for 2 years. And what this does is it's the exact same process as aging whiskey or cognac. It imparts that really beautiful smoky flavor and that golden color that comes from the wooden barrels into the liquor and into the spirit. So our thought process was, if it can be done for whiskey and cognac, why not something new? Coming back to the question, I think definitely the current Fenny market is evolved enough to appreciate it. I think us sitting here is testament to that. Like you said, we're all participating in the growth and expansion of the Fenny market right now. But more than that, I would say what we want to focus on is the non-Fenny market. I myself have been a whiskey drinker for as long as I've been drinking alcohol, and I have always drunk whiskey on the rocks, and I was actually one of the, like you said, two groups of people. Either you drink Fenny or you don't, and I was on the side that didn't for a long time. I am actually now at the point where our aged Fenny is my drink of choice, to the point where I have a bottle of it in the car if I'm going out to a friend's house, in case they don't have it, or in case a bar doesn't have it. We'll offer it as a gift to the bartender and then open it so I can drink it. So I have been fully converted, and I think we're looking at this in a way where obviously India is a huge whiskey market, and this is almost a stepping stone for someone who is a whiskey drinker to say, hey, you know what, this is somewhat in my comfort zone. It has the notes of whiskey, but we're expanding into the field of Fenny and giving them that chance to kind of explore something new. And again, with me, after drinking our aged Fenny, I have been so much more comfortable to try Fenny cocktails or infused Fenny or just straight Fenny on the rocks and try every version of it. So I think a lot of other people will also be much more inclined to opening up their horizons and trying something new, especially someone who is a whiskey drinker like I used to be. I also think when you go to a bar or a restaurant and you look at the menu, you're handed the menu, you see 10 whiskeys, you see 10 gins, you see 10 tequilas. But at the moment you're seeing one Fenny and there's no brand name. It just says Fenny on the menu, nothing else. We want to get to a point where you see 10 Fennys on the menu and each one has the brand next to it. And you can ask by name. You can say, you know what, I want a large Guinchi, I want a large Centauri, I want a large Cazulo. And you can ask for your preference based on your budget, on your taste, and decide what you like, because there are that many options to choose from.
Absolutely. The ocean is very, very blue.
Exactly. And I also think, I mean, if we look at tequila as an example of something that's GI tagged to Mexico, you can buy a bottle of tequila that's $20, you can buy a bottle of tequila that's $500, and it might sound crazy right now, but maybe someday we'll be sitting here, hopefully a new group of faces will be sitting here talking about a 25-year aged bottle of Fenny that costs 20,000 rupees, or a 10-year aged bottle. And I think it's really incredible to see the potential, and so far we've had a very positive response. If anyone hasn't yet tried our Fenny, please come to stall 47, because it is unlike anything you've tried before. It's very different, and I'd love for everyone to taste it.
Thank you so much, Aisha. That was absolutely wonderful. I have another question for you. So when you look at, like say cognac for an example, they always have an appellation board that sort of regulates how long a particular spirit has been aged, sort of certifies for quality that said spirit has been aged for said amount of time. Is there a body at the moment that regulates the aging of fenny? And if not, is there a need for one, in your opinion?
So, as of right now, the Goa government has notified the Goa Fenny Policy of 2021. This kind of outlines the rules of fenny production, of barrel aging, of GI tagging. The implementation is still in the works of this, but it will happen. And I think because of this, certification is inevitable in the future as well. But again, coming back to my previous point, I think as important as certification is to have a benchmark and a standard, it's just as important to focus on the customers and kind of build this market so that we see 10 different aged fennies a few years from now, and you can compare a fenny, say from Sattari or from Valpoi, and say, you know what, I like it from this region, or I like mine aged 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. And again, so that we are coming back to the customer, making sure they have the variety to choose from. They can choose based on what they are interested in, what their budget and taste is. And I think as the industry grows, certification is definitely coming soon. Yeah.
No, that's very well answered. I believe the same thing, that fenny is a category ripe on its verge of, exploding and taking over the world. We've actually seen, say, Indian cuisine or Indian fashion sort of take the center stage, even in the West for many times. But that sort of representation hasn't been achieved for the Indian alcobev space. We've often always looked down upon our indigenous spirits, perhaps a sad post-colonial mindset that we're sort of working on. But with brands like this, I think we'll be curing the colonial hangover very, very soon.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm very excited to see what the future of fenny holds, and that's essentially why we had this panel discussion to begin with, so that we can inform as many people as possible about all the great things that we've been doing for a while now. So moving on to our next panelist, Mr. Anand Shirodkar.
Hello everyone. Thank you for having me here.
Absolute pleasure, Anand. So my association with Anand has been almost a year long now, and I've seen him on the floor at his bar, sort of championing fenny to every patron that sort of walks in. Pablo's is the kind of new age tavern that really builds culture around fenny, and that is the reason why I wanted to sort of have him, grace the audience with respect to how things are changing at the bar end, at the bar front, in terms of fenny being used as perhaps in cocktails, or even, there are some misconceptions to fenny that, what, some customers think that fenny smells, or things like that. There have been some negative connotations. So I wanted to know from Anand that, bars, especially like Pablo's, they serve as great spaces of community and culture building, right? So how have you combated these misconceptions associated with fenny, and how have you, spun your magic in getting the next generation to not only try this spirit, combating the misconceptions, but also to fall in love with it?
Okay, so I'm going to talk from just a consumer point of view, because I talk with them every day and I understand the misconceptions people have around fenny. I think the biggest bad reputation it has is when people come in contact with fenny, they always talk about its distinct smell. This is always spoken about in a bad light. But there are many other misconceptions with it, like, it will give you a terrible hangover, or your sweat will smell of it the next day. Unnecessary misconceptions have been associated with fenny. That's also because I think there has never been consistent fenny available. There's always been different qualities of fenny, different alcohol content. The branding has never been great. But through Pablo's, what we are trying to do is trying to introduce people to fenny in a much easier way. Like as the earlier panelists said that, bars usually just have like one fenny drink on their menu. But since we've started, we've always had 6 to 8 different types of fenny on our menu. And that's the first thing you see. You open our menu and the first thing you see is fenny. Not like usually bars have this, there's a specific rule of how to make menus. Like, beers have to go first, this has to go second, all of this. The expensive things need to be at the eye level. But fenny has always been such an affordable product that we've managed to keep 6. Right now, I think it's gone to 8. because we've got Aniek come in, we have Goichi come in, but usually I still have 3 of my own infusions and 2 raw fennies as well. And that really gave me a chance to introduce fenny to people who had never had it. So people would come and they would just ask me, what is this fenny? Why is it so cheap? Why is it only like 50 rupees or why is it 40 rupees? And when I would give them a taster, they're like, no, it's not for me. So then I started with the infusions. I'm like, try this jeera fenny or try this ginger fenny. And with the conversations, I started telling them about the health benefits to it. Obviously, in limited quantities, not drink the whole bottle. But, so people started trying it and they're like, yeah, okay, this works for me. Then slowly started putting in things to make it more and more palatable. I agree that it does gentrify the drink, make it less earthy, but it makes it more palatable to first timers. After they come for the first time, when I see like most of the customers who come to the bar become regulars very, very soon. So once they come the next time, I don't have to go through this entire process of making them, familiarizing them with the fenny. So then I can ask them to try something new and try fenny in its raw form. Okay, if this doesn't work for you, let us give you a cocktail which suits your palate. And that's what we have also done with our cocktail program, is usually the cocktails are fixed, right? This cocktail is made with a certain spirit, this. So we make cocktails with only fresh tropical fruits and local grown produce. And you can choose the base, what you want in a cocktail. There's no hard and fast rule that, this cocktail is only with this, no. So what happens is this gives us the opportunity to recommend fenny as a base in those cocktails, and people also can try. Instead of just going for regular white spirit like a gin, vodka, or a white rum, which doesn't have much characteristics on its own like what fenny has, this really helps people to try something with the flavors they enjoy. So this has really helped us push fenny, and that and you won't believe it, our fenny sales are actually more than our whiskey sales, in spite of whiskey being such a dominant thing in India. Brown spirits, everyone told us brown spirits all the time,
Mm-hmm.
But we have seen it. And we also have great connects with local distillers, so we get our fenny straight from them, and it's very good, you don't have to ask for crates of 12 bottles, you can just get a can of 35 liters, which really helps.
This was brilliant, Arun. Thank you so much for shedding light on how things have been changing at the bar. But coming back to sort of the smell, I mean, I don't want to refer to it as a smell. I prefer to call it a perfume or an aroma or a bouquet. But like you said, many people have that misconception about fenny, that it sort of smells pungent or etc. But they don't seem to have the same misconception about Urak. So coming to my next question, Urak has become all the craze amongst patrons in Goa. But unfortunately, due to its smaller shelf life and lower value additiveness, it's not a very